they were building the first living beings, the first species, into the fourth dimension. Just live one process, they could probably need like thousands and billions of years. We needed to stop that, and we needed more life and more evolution. So that's why the species in the fourth dimension were forced to die. The transcendence of a process of learning became death, and the integration became to be. That's why dying is so important for us in the third dimension, because it allows the beings in all the dimensions to express the different ways of life. They figure out that if they change their shapes, being the same within, they could upload more information. Water has the whole information to create life, to express the reality. That's why the universe created this spiral of DNA in which all the information was held into the cell, which is like a planet, and all this information was being alive through the minerals and the water that was brought through the blood. When we think about intelligent species, we usually start to think about that humans are not from Earth and that we were created by beings from outside, which is true. But to understand how it works, it's not beings from outer space that came to this planet and picked some species and just decided to create a new one. They spent thousands and millions of years of observation trying to understand how this planet works. Because you have to think about how your body has its own immunological system, that anything from outside could be killed by your own body if it doesn't feel that it's own. So what they had to do is to see which cells of this body, what we call Earth, were able to evolve and to hold information from outside. At the first stages of the test, life was only in water. They start to prove with this joint of information, of blood, of DNA, in the beings living in water. So after a while, they decided that the best being to hold all that information and to be wise about it was the whale. And they then tried to cross the earth beings with the water beings, and most of them didn't accomplish the purpose of our fathers and mothers from the stars, like some cats, like some reptilians, some beings that were tried to be created from mammals, from reptilians, from birds, and those were the first ideas to reach which one of the species were more prepared to hold all that information. Then in Africa, the hominids, they were the evolutionary path in which the earth was reaching consciousness. It was not just monkeys going around and suddenly a species from the heavens came and modified them to create Homo sapiens sapiens. They choose them, they choose us, because they saw that the planet was going into this evolutionary path in which the planet was looking for being aware of who she is. So they saw that these species were one of the more prepared to receive information because they were looking for information. So that's why they choose humans, because we were able genetically to download information from other levels to understand who we are. And that's why in Africa, when they saw that the hominids were getting ready to wander the world, to think about the world in a different way, they just took samples of them in South Africa, in Congo, in Egypt, in Arabia, in Middle East and India, and they took the path that humans were taking because of the climate change at that time. So they were reaching that information, but they were taking those mammals to prepare them in spaces that they would be able to protect them. And that's why the first humanity, the first humans as we know it, they usually were born in islands. They took like really far away so they could prepare original people from Australia. They started creating different prototypes of humans so they could decide which one of them was better to mix with other humans. Some of the species were doing the transformation through genetics, so they were doing experiments and tests with humans to put that information. And by test, I don't mean in laboratories or hospitals, I mean sex, because a lot of them came here to have daughters and sons with women in this planet, and also women came from other places to have kids with men here in this planet, because they understood that biology is the best way to mix than in a laboratory. So what they did was trying to mix their genetics, and other ones just put the information through minerals or to codes. During the process of looking for the best species to hold information in this planet, every code of genetics of different races of this galaxy weren't able to survive. Everything that was trying to survive in this planet, they were killed by this planet. And in between all of them, the ones that did it better because they were more similar to us were the Arcturians. And that's why Homo sapiens sapiens were the chosen species in this planet, because all the other ones couldn't make it. Arcturians figured out that we were really similar to them. They were aware that we were ready to have the same proportions of body, of thoughts, the brain. Everything was so aligned to what Arcturians were trying to do on Earth that we were chosen like a kind of the good species to bring consciousness to the planet. But because they didn't want to make the same mistakes that they did in other planets, they couldn't create just one perspective of that species. So that's why we needed races. We needed different types of humans to have or to adapt to different types of information. So that's why the races were so important, and the diversity of humans around the world is so important, so we can have more data, we can have more information from every part of the galaxy. That's why we needed this Homo sapiens sapiens being so different, but at the same time being the same species, because it's the only way that we can have all this information in just one spot, in just one place.